Now, let's put this into perspective, because a lot of you are wanting him to fight Alex Pereira, but a lot of you also don't realize that he's conditioning and grooming you guys to fight Alex Pereira. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're watching the daily series of Nwadei MMA, where I give you my thoughts, but more importantly ask for you guys' thoughts, because you guys are the MMA community. And guys, we have a lot to talk about, so before we get right into it, if you want to support the content, go ahead and drop a like on this video. It takes one click of a button, and as you watch along this video, comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. And also, you're more than welcome to subscribe to join the Nwadei MMA family and to see more content that I post. Now, forgive me guys if I sound terrible, because I'm just overcoming some sickness. You know, this happens after every single competition. Even though my opponent pulled out last second before my last competition, every time I switch up my diet because I'm doubted, and then as soon as I start eating some bad food, bang, you get sick. Isn't it crazy? Well, that's enough about me. Anyways, as far as the MMA community, guys, there's so much to discuss in maybe two of the most exciting divisions right now in the UFC featherweight and bantamweight divisions. However, first, before we get into those, we're actually going to talk about the heavyweight division. Now, Jon Jones, yes, Jon Jones, one of the greatest fighters of all time, some think the greatest fighter of all time, apparently has a date. Now, when is that gonna be? Well, the world can really only speculate. But who will that be against? Now, Jon Jones' next opponent is probably gonna be Stipe Miocic. And I know, nobody really wants to see that. But some people are confused on why they don't want to see that, because here's the landscape of the MMA community. If you guys don't watch my podcast, The Will vs. The Way, we talk about the heavyweight landscape a lot on there and the different points of views between the casuals and the people who've been following MMA for a while. And pretty much the landscape is the fact that the casuals, or the people even who came into MMA maybe 2-3 years ago, don't know who Stipe is, unfortunately. And that's because that one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, matter of fact, the greatest heavyweight of all time, doesn't say much. He's a full-time firefighter. He injured his eye in the DC trilogy. The last thing people really remember from Stipe Miocic is him getting knocked out by Francis Ngannou before that whole Ngannou drama, and before him leaving the UFC. And so people really forgot about Stipe Miocic, or never really knew who he was. So let me remind you, if you want to know why people call Stipe Miocic the greatest heavyweight of all time, we have to go back all the way to 2013, really, to see where it began. Now, he had UFC fights before 2013, but he was just coming off of a loss to where he then defeated Roy Nelson, Gabriel Gonzaga, Fabio Maldonado, and granted, those are all pretty great contenders, right? Okay, let's move on. Then he goes on to beat Mark Hunt, legend, Andrei Arlovsky, legend and former champion, Fabricio Verdum, legend, former champion, and arguably one of the greatest heavyweights in his own right, Alistair Overeem, legend, Junior Dos Santos, legend, the scary and great Francis Ngannou, legend, DC twice, legend. I mean, Stipe's reign, let's just go back to the time where he beat Francis Ngannou. I mean, this is when Francis was ripping and tearing through everybody. Dana was hyping him up as his punch was more powerful than a Ford Escort going at full speed, and we all remember that, right? Well, some of you don't, and it's understandable because of when you came in. However, going back to the point, Jon Jones wants that resume on his resume for a reason. He wants to be considered the greatest of all time. He doesn't want there to be a question. And even though Stipe Miocic is 41, about to turn 42, he still thinks that the name on his resume is going to mean a whole lot, which in the long run, it probably will. So that's the next fight we're going to get. However, if he beats Stipe Miocic, which we all expect that he will, who would he fight next? He's talked about fighting Alex Pereira, and he's also been talking about fighting Tom Aspinall. However, he's been mentioning Alex Pereira's name a lot more. Now, let's put this into perspective, because a lot of you are wanting him to fight Alex Pereira, but a lot of you also don't realize that he's conditioning and grooming you guys to fight Alex Pereira. He wants you to believe that Alex Pereira really has the best chance at beating him. Why? Well, let me give you these reasons. Alex Pereira, bigger star than Tom Aspinall. It's just the way the dice roll. Alex Pereira has 5 former champions that he's beaten. Alex Pereira beat Izzy, right? There's a bunch of accomplishments that Alex Pereira has, which would look better on Jon Jones' resume And not to mention, Alex Pereira is kind of carrying the UFC on his back right now. While on the other hand, Tom Aspinall is probably the harder matchup. He is the less known name, and he's the guy that wants to fight Jon Jones the most. Now, does Alex Pereira want to move up to heavyweight and challenge himself there? Of course, but Alex Pereira is just a warrior. He wants to fight everyone. Tom Aspinall has really been the one calling Jon Jones' name, but we might not get that fight because Jon Jones is deciding between the payday in Alex Pereira or the really tough fight in Tom Aspinall. If he fights Alex Pereira, let me just tell you right now, he's gonna take him down. If he gets back up, he's gonna take him down again. Alex Pereira, yes, he has a puncher's chance in 4-ounce gloves, but will he get there? But does he have a chance on the ground? Nah, not really. Tom Aspinall, on the other hand, and this is gonna be one of the last points I make, he has serious speed in his hands, really good boxing, a good education of the clinch game as well, and he can grapple, can really grapple. And to get a little bit of an insight onto how good his grappling is, former Jiu-Jitsu world champion Gilbert Burns and perennial contender, when asked who has the best grappling in the UFC right now, said that just might be Tom Aspinall. And let's also go back to one of Tom Aspinall's most iconic interviews, where when they asked why he's such a problem, he said he's the biggest mystery in the UFC today. And I can agree with him. Now, with all that being said, who would you want to see Jon Jones fight next? Is he gonna fight the one-eyed, halfway retired 41-year-old Stipe Miocic? Yes, that's probably the case. Who should he fight next? Well, guys, he's left it up to you guys. It's between the money fight, which would be better for his career, or the bigger challenge, which would please the people. Let me know in the comments down below. However, moving forward into the featherweight division, Ilia Topuria, is he running away from every tough competition? Well, let's break this down. So Ilia Topuria has been going crazy, right, on X, or I really shouldn't say he's been going crazy, because this is just how he speaks. Everything he says is with confidence. Everything he says could seem disrespectful, but it's just really coming from self-belief and what he believes he's gonna do, and people really don't like it. I mean, the fact that he's saying that he's gonna fight Max Holloway only if the BMF title is on the line, and other than that, Max has nothing he wants. The fact that he is saying that Volk isn't gonna get a rematch because, well, he was gonna beat him so decisively, and he did. There's something that doesn't rub people right about Ilia Topuria, but why is it that we care so much? Let me break something down for you guys. Nobody who's ever become a superstar in the UFC has followed the rules. That's just a known fact. I mean, let's talk about it. Jon Jones, Conor McGregor, Sean O'Malley, did they ever really follow the rules? Khabib Nurmagomedov, all these people have one thing in common. They do what they want. I mean, whether you like it or not, he's gonna do what he wants. Ilia Topuria is gonna be the next superstar, and I have no doubt in my mind. And to be honest, I don't know if I see anyone in the featherweight division beating him anyways. Now, people are getting angry that he's saying that if Max doesn't want to accept, and that if the BMF title's not on the line, then he'll go ahead and fight Brian Ortega. And to be honest, I want to see that fight too, so I have no problem with that. But people are already counting out Brian Ortega, saying, oh, that's an easy fight for him. Well, if there's no fight for him right now, then why wouldn't he fight a guy like Sean O'Malley? If granted Sean O'Malley beats Merab, why wouldn't he move up and fight Islam Makhachev? Why shouldn't he move on and do all these crazy things he's talking about doing? Because you don't like the fact that he's that good? Now, some people are going to say maybe he should fight Movsar Evloev. 8-0 in his last 8. However, Ilia brought up a good point. He said he would fight him, but 4 of those 8 wins came by split decision. Arguably lost to Diego Lopez. He arguably lost to Arnold Allen. You know, there's just too many close fights, no finishes, no decisive wins over good opponents, and so he just needs to see more. And I can agree with that, because I don't really want to see that fight. The only fights I'm really interested in seeing from Ilia Topuria is that Max Holloway fight. That's exciting now. A Volkanovski rematch when Volkanovski's healthy, I could see that again, but it would take some time. Or maybe a guy from another division, man. I don't think he's trying to take any kind of easy way out, picking and choosing opponents, whatever. Y'all just don't like that he's not following the rules. He's not following the guidelines. He's not saying, oh, I'm gonna defend my belt this and this many times before I choose to do that. He's not taking that route. No, he's gonna do what he wants to do when he wants to do it, and he's calling the shots. He's a superstar. Now, moving on to the bantamweight division. However, we know Sean O'Malley and Merab are going to fight. We don't necessarily know when. That could be at 306. That could be at 307. We don't know the date yet. We know they're going to fight though. We also know that in the bantamweight division, Umar Nurmagomedov and Corey Sandhagen are fighting, potentially for the #1 contendership fight. We also know that Jose Aldo came back. He just got a win over a very tough opponent, and Jonathan Martinez looked amazing. Said he would like to hop into that title shot picture. Now that last one, I don't know if that's going to happen, but it's an option. However, moving away from the sport of MMA and moving into the sport of boxing, we also see that Ryan Garcia just beat Devin Haney. However, there's a lot of controversy surrounding it, saying that, oh, he took PEDs. He also didn't make weight. There's a lot of things surrounding that. Now, right now, let's just go ahead and say Ryan Garcia is exonerated from the PED use. It just came out that the levels of anything that were in his system, one, wouldn't have even been performance enhancing, and two, one of those positive tests just came back negative. We also know that the Haney camp was close to one of the founders of VADA, and the boxing is just so corrupt that they're doing anything to try and take this win away from Ryan Garcia. However, this is not what we're here to talk about. You could go ahead and comment your thoughts down below on if you think Ryan Garcia cheated or how surprised you were about Ryan Garcia. But there are also, Ryan Garcia said this multiple times, he's in talks with Dana White to fight Sean O'Malley. Weird thing about this is that Ryan Garcia wants to do it in MMA. Sean O'Malley wants to do it in boxing. They both don't care if it's 4-ounce gloves or not. Hear me out. Now, Ryan Garcia hopped on a podcast with Bob Menry, Fully Tilted, and he was talking about doing it in the octagon with 4-ounce gloves. It would actually be worse for Sean O'Malley if it's a boxing match. If it's MMA, he says he's wrestled his whole life, quote unquote. He says that he's been training jiu-jitsu and grappling, and I know I've seen a couple clips with him and Henry Gracie, and Henry Gracie was saying he's a natural athlete and that he's picking everything up so fast, whatever. And could he be training behind closed doors? Yes. But would he actually be able to compete with Sean O'Malley in a MMA fight? One of the only boxers I've seen come from boxing to MMA, Claressa Shields, whoa, right? She overthrows a lot of her punches for MMA. Now she's learned to be more patient now, but for MMA, she overthrows a lot of her punches, and that comes from boxing, not knowing the kicking range, not understanding the kicking range and the balance you need when going against kicks and where you're open and things like that. She's getting better, of course, but this is just something I've seen. Ryan Garcia, some of the things he's developed, especially going against Devin Haney in that fight. One leg kick, one body kick, one head kick, and it changes the whole fight. One kick in general, it changes the whole fight. So I don't think they're gonna do that. That's one. So if they agree to anything, it's gonna be boxing. However, Dana White's been very particular about the people he's deciding to do this with. There has to be some real intrigue. And right now, I'm not seeing it. But, like I said, Sean O'Malley is going to fight Merab Dvalishvili. After that, depending on who wins out of Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov, he might actually just fight Ryan Garcia. If Sean O'Malley can get through Merab Dvalishvili, which I think he will, by the way. I think his footwork is really good from the outside. That's already half of the takedown defense. His regular takedown defense is pretty spot on when he's actually focused on it. We saw that against Aljamain Sterling. And Merab doesn't really pose too much of a submission threat. So when Sean gets back up, or when the round ends and they get right back to standing on the feet, he's going to piece up Merab. I full-heartedly believe that, and I'll break that down later. But say he goes out there and knocks out Merab Dvalishvili, and say Corey Sandhagen wins. To be honest, if Corey Sandhagen beats Umar Nurmagomedov, which is a very great chance that he will, I don't think they do that fight. Something's telling me that they're going to do Ryan Garcia versus Sean O'Malley, or Sean O'Malley versus Ilia Topuria. However, if Umar Nurmagomedov beats Corey Sandhagen, I think that the fight happens. There's something just telling me, man. I have a weird feeling about this. I don't think that they're gonna treat Corey Sandhagen right with the win over Umar Nurmagomedov, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And the reason why I think that is because Corey Sandhagen is not gonna talk shit, man. He's not gonna talk shit. He's a true martial artist. He's a fucking fantastic fighter. But the amount of money that's in fighting Ryan Garcia trumps everything. Or Nurmagomedov trumps everything. Or Ilia Topuria trumps everything. Unless Corey Sandhagen goes out there, knocks out Umar Nurmagomedov, and starts talking the meanest shit to Sean O'Malley, I can see Ryan Garcia being next after Merab Dvalishvili, or Ilia Topuria being next after Merab Dvalishvili. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys for tuning in to Nwadei MMA, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.